Hello my friends, my name is Luisa and this is the Lulu Blue Studio. Today we are going to paint this composition and we are going to focus on leaves placement. We are going to paint the flowers and we are going to paint all the leaves in this page, and I'm going to give you a few tips on how to place leaves. Are you ready? Let's start! So, since this tutorial is all about leaves placement, I've decided to create a very simple loose style floral composition in the center part of this page. In order to do so, I take my filbert brush, this is a filbert brush in size 10, and I mix on my color palette a little bit of yellow ochre and a little bit of transparent orange. And with this light mixture, I started to create the center flower. So I give you already a few tips on how to place leaves on your floral compositions, although we are not painting leaves yet. But when you are approaching any flower composition, you need to plan a little bit ahead where to put your flowers and where to put the leaves. So here we go. I usually like to have in the center part of the page the main flower, and this is what I'm going to create now. After this main flower has been created, I will proceed creating other flowers that are going to follow more or less an S shape on the page, where in the upper right corner of this page there are going to be the highest flowers, and in the lower part of the page, in the lower left corner of this page, there are going to be the lowest flowers. Following the shape of these flowers on the page, I'm going to start to add leaves afterwards. And since I want to follow this S shape, also for the leaves, as for the flowers, the highest leaves are going to be in the up right corner of this page, and the lowest leaves are going to be in the lower left corner of this page. So this is my first tip for you if you are learning where to place leaves on your floral composition. Leaves should follow the main flowers that you have painted on the page, and in particular leaves should have a placement on the paper starting from one of the two corners of the top page, and then lead the eyes of the observer down to the lower corners of the page. You can start to place your higher leaves in the upper right corner and keep building your leaves and adding your leaves on the page down to the left corner of the page, or you can place your highest leaves in the upper left corner and place leaves down up to the lower left corner of the page. Additionally, I want to suggest you to also place your flowers in a similar position onto the page. It will be then easier for you to know where to add your leaves. In particular, your leaves can be placed all around the main flowers you are creating in a sort of way that they are hugging the flowers you have created. This said, I prefer always to start my compositions with the main flowers and then add the leaves afterwards. Leaves can be added completely at the end of your composition when all the flowers are completely created, or they can be added while you're creating the flowers too. In this case, for the flowers, I've been using a filbert brush, to create the two main flowers in orange and yellow color in very simple shape, and then I've been using a round brush in size 12 to create these two roses, mixing a little bit of cobalt violet and quinacridone purple with a little bit of scarlet red. All of the colors and all of the supplies that I use in these videos are linked in the description below. In particular, these colors are from Schminke, and these are new colors that I've been using very recently and that I'm very happy with. At this point, the center part of the page is ready with all the flowers I wanted to create. But since all the flowers are in the center, I decided to add a few filling flowers in a very light color. This is a mixture of a little bit of black, of Mars black, with mainly a lot of water. And I add to these sort of buds a little bit of quinacridone magenta. And I created these filling flowers that are leading the eyes of the observer from the upper corner, where at the moment this yellow flower is, down to the lower corner in the left part of the page. I add the same filling flowers also in the right part of the page, and I follow the same technique. I first use a light mixture of Mars black with a lot of water to create the shape of these filling flowers in a sort of white color, and then I add a little bit of quinacridone magenta to blend through the wet and wet technique. And I create this sort of branch of filling flowers from the center part of this composition, of the center of this page where all the flowers are, down to the lower corner in the right part. I keep in mind that I want my observer to look at this composition starting from the up right corner of this page. Therefore, I start to create a few filling flowers also in the upper right corner of this page. And then I plan this composition to have flowers, and I will add leaves down to the lower corner in the right side of the page. Therefore, I plan my filling flowers and my leaves to be created following this pattern, which is more or less an S shape onto the page. When I'm creating these flowers in the left part of the page, I take care not to have them higher than the flowers that I have on the right part of the page, because I want the right corner to be the first corner that my observer is looking at. At this point, with a round brush in size 6, I start to take a little bit of green, mainly a mixture of sub-green and green earth from Schminke, and I start to create this mixture to create the leaves and the stems in first place, following an S shape. I use just the fine tip of this brush to create a very thin stems that are leading from the base of these flowers to the center of the page. I usually like to plan my floral compositions with the main flowers in the center, and thinking that the filling flowers and the other flowers and the leaves are sort of falling down from the center part where the main flowers are placed. Now that the flowers are created and I've created also the stems, I started to place the leaves. I use a round brush in size 12, and I started to place leaves where these main flowers have been created. And these leaves are starting exactly from the flowers, from the petals of these flowers, and are sort of hugging the petals of the flowers I've created. Leaves are created with a very basic shape. This is a loose style composition, so usually I create these leaves using the belly or the side of this round brush. And I create them in a way that are sort of hugging the petals of the flowers I've created. I keep in mind to use different hues of greens and create leaves in different sizes. Some leaves need to be bigger than others in order to create a composition that is overall dynamic. I love to use the wet on wet technique and add into the very first layer of wet green some darker green. Usually I mix it with a little bit of blue to create some nice effect of wet in wet onto the leaves. In this flower composition, I will take care to create a few leaves, but not too many leaves, because I wanted to create a loose style composition that is quite airy. I've created also another tutorial where I explain the leaves placement, and I link it here, where I explain how to place leaves on your composition, but I just focus on this leaves placement, and this tutorial that I link will start with the flowers already created, and I will just focus on explaining you all of my tips on how to place leaves on a floral composition. Also, in this video that I'm going to link, and you will find also in the description, I'm going to add many more leaves compared to this tutorial you're seeing, so you can have an impression of what leaves placement can lead to as an overall effect. If you add, for example, more leaves or less leaves, you can have very different effects, and you can compare with these two tutorials. So if you're interested in learning how to place leaves and where to place leaves on your floral composition in loose style, please check out this other tutorial I've created on my YouTube channel. At this point of this tutorial, I've placed the highest leaves in the upper right corner of this page. And I'm creating more leaves down to the bottom part of the page near the left corner, because I want my observer to start looking at this floral composition starting from the upper right corner and following the whole composition down to the bottom left corner of this page. Therefore, my leaves keep hugging these flowers I've created, in this case the filling flowers, and the lowest leaves are found in the lower left corner of this page. So my recommendation for you when you want to create a floral composition is to plan ahead where you want your higher point of the composition to be and where you want your lowest part of the composition to be. I recommend you to use an S shape, to think of an S shape and place your flowers and your leaves following this shape, or maybe a Z shape, but you can also create other compositions following any other shape you prefer, but remembering that the eyes of the observer need to follow this shape down from the upper part of the page down to the lower part of the page. Keep in mind to change the color value and the color hue of your leaves. And also remember to have leaves with different sizes. So create some leaves in bigger size and some leaves in smaller size using different brush strokes or different brushes overall. At this point, I'm just adding the center part of the main flower, and I'm using mainly a mixture of Mars Black and Phthalo Blue. And I follow a similar approach for the yellow flower on the upper right corner of this page. So in this tutorial, I explain where to put the flowers on the page, the main flowers and the filling flowers, but I particularly put my attention on how to place leaves on the page. And the message that I would like you to bring home is to think of your flower composition starting from one corner of the page and go down to the bottom corner, either left or right of the page, and think about placing your flowers and your leaves following this pattern. You can add as many leaves as you want. Some flower composition can be very heavy in leaves, while others can have very little amount of leaves. This is up to you, up to your inspiration and to what you want to create. This composition is not very heavy in leaves, and as I said, if you want to watch another tutorial where I explain leaves placement with an example where I add many more leaves, there is the video linked in the description below. But I also encourage you to just play with your imagination, with your artistic style, and just have fun while trying to learn where to add leaves on your paintings. At this point, I am quite happy with the amount of leaves I've created, and I am just refining the shape of these main flowers that are in the center part of the composition. In this case, for example, I'm just adding a few brush strokes as a second layer through the wet on dry technique, and I'm trying just to add some contrasting brush strokes. I use in particular a mixture of yellow ochre and transparent orange with a little bit of quinacridone purple, and I use the side of the brush and the tip of the brush to achieve this effect. I hope this tutorial was useful for you to understand where to place leaves on a loose style floral composition. And if you have any other question and something that you would like me to investigate, let me know in the comments below. See you in the next video.